r/AskReddit by Reddit. Wedding planners of Reddit, what did your worst bridezilla/groomzilla do? My sister fired her wedding planner and cancelled the rehearsal dinner. The photographer ended up stepping in and being the one to tell us when it was our turn to walk down the aisle, time to cut the cake, who should toast, etc. because my sister was toasted and the rest of us were just clueless. He was also a top-notch photographer despite all of the extra responsibility he took on in the wedding, and my husband and I were considering buying some of the photos he took of our family, but he ended up taking all of my sister's pictures off of his site because she was screen capping and sharing them with the watermark cropped out instead of buying them. So classless. I'm a bit late, but I work for a florist/event coordinating shop. We have several pretty high-end venues we are exclusive with, and lots of money breeds lots of entitlement. We get pretty horrendous bridezillas on the regular. One I remember was a woman who was very sweet up until after her wedding. We had to substitute peonies, every bride and their grandma's favorite flower, because they weren't in season, and to get them, she would need to pay a ton. So she opted for garden roses instead. It rained on her wedding day, not like maybe we should make a rain call, like tornado sirens and stuff falling over. The power went out, and the hotel used all of their backup generators to light her ceremony and reception for the 3 hours the power was out. The rest of their guests just had to be rich by candlelight, I guess. None of that was her fault, but none was ours or the hotel's either. Nature gonna nature. She tried to sue not only us for ducking up her bouquet, but also the hotel for not letting her ceremony be outside, and for not letting her ceremony be in the prettiest area of the inside of the hotel. Thankfully we always have 2 coordinators meet with brides from this venue. It's our biggest client, but we also record consultations and have contracts notifying all parties. So she couldn't do anything to us, but she did decide to blast us on Yelp, Facebook, and any other social media medium she could. Thankfully we threatened to sue her back for defamation and she removed them all. The hotel has similar practices, but also a ton of money to throw against her in court, so they basically told her to bring it, and she backed off. More recently, not involved with us directly, a groom from a wedding we just did is claiming the venue they used stole from them because he didn't receive wedding presents from all of his guests, and he's 100% certain every single one brought them something. They requested money, by the way, only money. So now he's wanting to sue the venue while also calling all of his guests to make sure they gave him money for his wedding gift. This one is more fun to watch burn. I worked a wedding where I basically had to play a game of telephone all day long. I'm a photographer and came on site the day of a wedding to meet with the planner/coordinator, who promptly told me to be careful around the bride. Apparently at the rehearsal the prior night the bride thought the coordinator was taking too much of her time after 2 questions and relayed through her bridesmaid that the coordinator was no longer allowed to speak to the bride or even look her in the eye. All communication would have to go through a family member from there on out. I had worked with this coordinator in the past and knew her to be a consummate professional and pleasant person to be around. She had actually assumed the bride would get over her tantrum the day of the wedding, but nope, still no talking or eye contact. The coordinator tried her best to keep the wedding day going smoothly and on time, but it was really tough to do so through proxy. Taking photos took forever because I had to make sure a bridesmaid or sister was always with us to tell the couple where to stand and how to pose. It was one of the most awkward jobs I ever had. Also should mention that when I came on site for the wedding, I was able to locate the bride by the sound of her screaming at her hair/makeup artists. By the time I came into the bridal suite, she had switched to screaming at her bridesmaids for looking prettier than her and made them change their hairstyles to look uglier. After I was done with the getting ready portraits, I found the groom outside on a balcony just smoking a cig and staring into the sun with the longest sigh I've ever heard in my life. I'm a little late to this one. I'm not a wedding planner, but I'm a musician. I played a wedding last year. The bride and groom were fantastically lively, beautiful people. I couldn't help but like them, even though in the lead up, if probably only spent an hour in their company. Anyways, the bride wanted me to play at the ceremony, just acoustic guitar and singing outside the church for the guests as they walked in. They invited me to the wedding and reception, so I wasn't just there for an hour and then went home. About a week before the wedding, the bride asked if I'd also mind playing their first dance song. I of course said yes, I was going to be there anyways. She wanted me to play Thinking Out Loud. So fast forward to the day of the wedding, everything is going according to plan. About 10 minutes before the first dance is due to happen, I go and get my guitar. The groom's mother followed me and basically confronted me and told me not to play that song and instead wanted me to play Can't Help Falling in Love because it was her favorite song and she wanted her son to do that. I very politely informed her that my agreement was with the bride and groom and therefore I'd play the Ed Sheeran song. She wasn't happy, went on a rant. I don't remember what she said, I wasn't paying attention, and she ended it with I'm paying for this wedding, and I don't care what that slut wants, you will play what I tell you to, or you won't get paid. So I told her of course I would play her song. After all, me being a poor unemployed musician couldn't possibly have any other gigs or a source of income and was desperately relying on the $150 that an hour of singing at a wedding ceremony would bring me. And then I got up to play, did what the bride wanted, making sure to stare at the MILF for a good 30 seconds, and then afterwards promptly told her to stick her complaining up her ass. I figured it was best to not ruin the happy couple's day, so I waited till they got back from the honeymoon before I told the bride what had happened. And bless her cotton socks, she transferred me $300 on the spot for my troubles. I work on a mobile bar that travels to different weddings in our region of the country. We had this couple who were a bit strapped for cash, so we did their wedding for cheap. We normally serve more lavish weddings. Anyway, they were so nice to begin with, but a lot of their guests brought their own alcohol to the venue, which isn't allowed. We confiscated it and promised to give it back at the end. One of these guests was the groom's father, who brought a whole keg of ale. Around 10 PM most of the guests were leaving. The party was supposed to go on until 1 AM, as the bride and groom had been taking drugs, ketamine I think, and were pretty mashed. We weren't selling any more drinks, so we decided to leave early, refund the customers a bit of money and leave all the confiscated booze behind. The bride, who booked us, was cool with this, so we proceeded to leave. The groom was not cool with this. Just after we packed up, he started demanding drinks and the phone numbers of all our female staff. We denied of course, as the bar was packed away and nobody wanted to give him their number. Eventually we had packed everything into my boss's trailer and were ready to leave. We all ran to his car park as the groom was kicking off by this point, and everyone jumped into my boss's car apart from me as I drove myself. My boss pulls away out of his car park as the groom comes out of the venue and starts hurling chairs at her car and trailer, screaming nonsense and swearing at the same time. He hadn't noticed me yet. I turned the key in my car, a classic VW bug, which of course didn't start. He noticed me then. I kept trying the engine, and after a few tries it started. I turned on my headlights and there he was, 6 feet 2 inches of cat head groom standing with Brock eyes in front of my tiny car. I couldn't get round him as he kept running in front of me, so I decided to drive straight at him and hoped he moved out of the way. He didn't. Instead he jumped onto my car and eventually fell off the curved bonnet. Never looked back, duck that guy. TL. Doctor, groom took drugs, went mental, threw chairs and jumped on my car. Edit. Thanks to the drug experts of Reddit, it can probably be concluded they weren't on ket. More like some kind of stimulant. Yay, finally an AskReddit thread that pertains to me. I'm a wedding/special event planner in Toronto. I own my own planning company, and I have been in the industry for about 8 years. I have so many horror stories that I don't know which to choose. 1. I had a bride that openly spoke utter and complete poo about the groom's family in front of his face. She would say that they were crazy, unclassy and annoying, and come the wedding, her family was actually the hardest family I ever had to deal with, and the groom's family was absolutely lovely. On top of all this, the bride yelled at all of the vendors all day, resulting in the videographers leaving after just 1 hour of shooting. The photographer cried in the bathroom, and the groom and the bride's cousins apologized to me for her behavior all night. 2. I had one horrible bride who I planned an amazing wedding for. She raved about how much she loved the food all evening, but the day after the wedding, she wrote a bad review about the caterer on Yelp and told me she wouldn't remove it unless they gave her a discount. She's a horrible person. 3. I had one horrific couple that didn't care about anyone. The groom was 30 minutes late for the ceremony, but it was no big deal because the bride was 2 hours late. After the ceremony, we had to shorten cocktails to make up for lost time. The couple got wasted in their limo and both ended up falling asleep. They were both so late for their own reception that I had the venue serve dinner without them. Their parents were furious. The bride's parents left early and the couple didn't arrive until 11 at night. Half of their guests left before they arrived and they yelled at me for allowing dinner to start before their arrival. This was a 400 guest wedding. 4. I had a really high-strung groom who yelled at one of his young guests, the kid was 12, for sitting out of his assigned seat and told the kid and his parents to leave. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comment section below.